to develop this product because I came up with the basic idea in my garage, as all good Kiwi inventions do, with an engineer's license, turning it a little bit at a time. And it works on a very simple principle of not only changing the cross-sectional area, but this labyrinth which runs through here is just like when you turn your garden hose on. If you have a long enough length of hose, it slows the flow down because you have wall effects. So this is making it more accurate by having wall effects. So from a business perspective, it's seen a different angle. And I had the advantage. Somebody said to me, a friend of mine who died recently was Colin Murdoch, and many of you probably don't know who he was, but every one of you has been intimately related to him in that if you've had an injection, you've used one of Colin's products. He invented the disposable hypodermic syringe and also the tranquilizer dark one. These probably should be up with the Rutherford in terms of the effect that he's had on healthcare globally, because without the disposable hypodermic syringe, we would have a pandemic of AIDS through the whole world. And he took it to the Auckland Department of Health, so the Auckland Health Board and the New Zealand Department of Health at that time, and said, got a great idea, a plastic syringe, you can use it once, throw it away, don't have to rinse out, get contaminated chemicals or things. And they said, oh, it's a bit futuristic. I don't think it's had an application. That was in 1957. So again, sometimes, like you were saying, the timing of a product is important. So he stuck at it for 10 years and just kept talking to people. And then what happened was, because he didn't have the money to patent it internationally, an American company started making it and made millions and millions of dollars out of it. Colin really made his money out of tranquilizer dark guns. So there's a Kiwi who did change the world. And this product is the sister product of that. This should be one of these in every hospital bed in the world. So you can change the world. But how I came to think about it was that your knowledge base is limited by the linearity of your learning. So if you go through a traditional academic learning process, you may not come up with some of these clever ideas because you don't have the ability to draw on parallel technologies. And that's what I do. I'm what they call an applied scientist. As a kid, I would take a watch apart to see how it worked. I had no interest in putting it back together again. Just wanted to understand how it worked. And then I understood what it did. It was actually an energy source. And you can use that energy source for a whole range of other things. So the needles behind this invention was, in England, when I was working in gardens in the orphanages, we were using a technique called Cameron trickle irrigation, which is where you just get thinner bits of tubing to go to the end of the plant, which will just put little drops of water to each individual plant. So I knew about Hall effects, but I didn't know how to use it until I went into the hospitals in the fall and saw that you could apply that technology to this ideology. But even with this great invention, you have the same distribution problems that Colin had trying to get his device accepted, because we're changing a clinical practice. So we've got a lot of marketing to do, and my thesis is to do what we're good at, give this to another company, which is a major multinational company who trains nurses, supplies IV solutions, and let them go and get it out to the world while we get on with the other products that we're developing, which can make major inroads into healthcare. So what we're doing is trying to develop technology that has footprints in the first world and the developing world that become cross-subsidizing. So if you look at the next slide. So this particular device can save millions of lives, and it probably costs less than $1 million all up to develop. But the footprint that it will have will be phenomenal. So that's a success story. So then we started to look at what are the themes, are the big pillars in developing countries. The next big pillar is protein, energy, malnutrition. And it's not just that kids don't get enough to eat, it's that they don't have the right foods available. So for instance, if you give somebody this rice, well, that's got 10% protein. If the kids have diarrheal diseases, they get rotaviruses in their stomach which prevent them from digesting this food. So they can't get protein out of it, so even though they might have a full stomach. Worse, they actually get killed by food. If they have diarrheal diseases like this kid here, he's got a bit drip going into his stomach to rehydrate him, and then he's given a bread roll. Because that's the next food stuff, their local food. But in the act of trying to digest that, if he's really, really sick, he will die because all of the energy comes out of essential organs like the heart, the lungs, the liver, the kidneys to digest that food, and you die. So you die with full amount of food in the stomach. So how do we, if you went into a hospital in America or New Zealand and a kid was in that fragile state, they'd have an IV fusion of amino acids. So they're what happens when you break proteins down into the subunits, you have amino acids, and they're instantly absorbed across the gut. They don't take any energy or much energy to be absorbed. So our challenge was how do we get cheap amino acids into these kids and make it sustainable? It's a big challenge. So have a look at how we think about doing this. So we've got acute diarrhea, which is the underlying cause of the problem. Kids in developing countries get an average of about 5 to 7 chronic diarrheal episodes a year. And that makes their digestive system more fragile, and usually on the 5th or 6th they end up something like this kid here. Go to the next slide. So we developed a range of nutritional products which can combat acute diarrhea and protein energy nutrition on a global scale. So go to the next slide. And it's just this little sachet. It costs 40 cents to make. So again, you know, if you're a pragmatic scientist, I'm not actually a stupid scientist, so I'm not very clever. I just think about things in a very baby-like fashion. So I thought, well, you've got to digest these proteins, so you need a protease enzyme. So where can we find a protease enzyme that's cheap? You know, we can't buy one from Merck because it'll cost too much money. We've got to find something that people are throwing away. And then I remembered when I was building a pharmaceutical plant down in Waikato, a guy took me on a little walk through a kiwi fruit processing plant because he thought that we might be able to help him with his, recovery with microbial control of his fruit juices. And I remember two things. I remember the women that were packing the kiwi fruit all had lost their fingerprints because the actinase that's present in kiwi fruit dissolves proteins in the finger. And that's why if you squeeze kiwi fruit on your steak, it will tenderise it. So I thought, well, hang on. What if we take waste product from kiwi fruit industry, the pulp, which is full of actinase, and we mix it with chicken protein, waste chicken streams from the abattoir. Because if you've had chicken sausage, there's one food stuff that comes after that, which is bits of neck and stuff that nobody really wants to eat. But it's still very good protein. So if you actually mix these two ingredients together, you digest all the protein in the chicken. Now chicken's important because chicken contains immunogenic peptides which repair damage caused by rotaviruses. So it becomes a superfood for treatment of infant nutrition. So we've come up with a process where we can mix these ingredients together under certain conditions. And what happens is a little bit of magic. You put this chemical pulp in and you put this terrible mess, this terrible bristle, and you brew it up and do certain things to it. And then there's this magical thing at a certain temperature. It changes to milk. It just goes to horrible milk. You can actually pour it. It's just like that. And it's treated as the protein. The amount of time that we incubate it for and do things with, we can change the mix of amino acids. It's important to have the right mix of amino acids because if you have polypeptides, they actually help the absorption of individual amino acids. So this was another benefit we found by doing the clinical trials. So by putting these materials together, making the liquid mid, then we freeze dry it, just like an ordinary powdered soup. Then you can transport it, and it's light and it doesn't go off. And all you do when you get it to the end user is they can sprinkle it on their rice, or they can actually make it up. This was designed for Nepal, so it's got pumpkin carbohydrate in it, and that looks exactly like a dish called dal, which is their local food. So we try and make it culturally. So I've done enough bad cultural things. I'm trying to make cultural things that don't offend people. And so the kids love it. And the preliminary trials we've done show that kids who are in a near-death situation will have 4 times the likelihood of survival if they have this than any other foods in the period, particularly milk products, which is usually the staple food that they get given by the other aid organisations. So that was great. You know, we had a solution. But how are we going to roll this product out?